Have you ever scrolled through social media and felt a pang of envy? You see someone else's perfect vacation, their beautiful home, their successful career, and a little voice inside whispers, "Why can't I have that life? Why is mine so hard?" We've all been there. We compare our behind-the-scenes struggles with someone else's highlight reel. But what if I told you that this constant comparison is the single greatest thief of joy? It blinds us to the beauty and strength we already possess. This brings to mind a timeless story about a humble stonecutter, a story that might just change the way you see your own life. In a quiet village nestled by the mountains, a stonecutter toiled day after day. His work was back-breaking, his hands were calloused, and his earnings were just enough to survive. He was a good man, but his heart was heavy with discontent. Looking at the wealthy merchants and powerful officials, he'd think, "Why is my life just sweat and dust? Why can't I be someone greater?" This feeling grew until one night, under a blanket of stars, he whispered a desperate prayer. "Please, give me a better life, so I may finally find peace." As he closed his eyes, his world began to shift in a way he could never have imagined. In his dream, the stonecutter suddenly found himself transformed. The rough, dusty clothes were gone, replaced by fine silk. He was no longer holding a heavy hammer, but sitting comfortably inside a grand carriage. Servants surrounded him, ready to fulfill his every wish. A wave of pure joy washed over him. "This is it," he thought. "This is the life I've always wanted. No more sweat, no more struggle. I am finally important." But as his carriage passed through the open countryside, the sun beat down with a relentless, scorching heat. His fine clothes became soaked with sweat, and his joy began to fade. He realized, even as a rich man, I'm powerless against the sun. The sun is far mightier than I. In that moment of frustration, he prayed again, "Make me the sun. Then I will be the most powerful of all." Instantly, his form dissolved and reformed. He was no longer a man, but the sun itself, blazing high in the heavens. He was magnificent, bathing the world in golden light, feeling a sense of ultimate power. "Now, nothing is greater than me," he declared. But just as he relished his new glory, a massive dark cloud drifted in front of him, casting a great shadow over the earth. No matter how fiercely he shone, his rays were blocked. His power was gone. Despair washed over him. The cloud is stronger than me." And so he prayed once more, "Please, let me be the cloud." And just like that, he became a vast, billowing cloud. He floated gently over valleys, bringing life-giving rain to the thirsty earth. He felt a different kind of power, a nurturing strength. "This is true power," he thought. But his peace was short-lived. A fierce wind began to blow, pushing and pulling him across the sky without his consent. He was tossed over mountains and plains, completely at the mercy of the wind's invisible force. Fear gripped him. The wind controls me. It is stronger than I am. He cried out, "Let me become the wind." In a flash, he was the wind, roaring across the land with untamed fury. He bent massive trees and whipped rivers into a frenzy. Nothing could stand in his way. Finally, he howled, "I am the strongest of all." But then he came upon a great unmoving mountain. He blew against it with all his might, but the mountain stood firm, its peak piercing the sky, completely indifferent to his rage. He was defeated. In awe and frustration, he admitted, "The mountain is stronger." With his last wish, he prayed, "Let me become the mountain." And so he became the mountain, solid, immovable, and eternal. The wind that once tormented him was now just a gentle breeze on his slopes. The sun that once burned him now only warmed his rocky face. He felt a deep, unshakable peace. At last, he thought, "I am the strongest." But then he felt a strange, sharp tapping. A persistent asterisk, thwack, 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 asterisk, on his side. He looked down and saw a tiny figure, man chipping away at his stone with a hammer and chisel. The mighty mountain trembled, not from the blows, but from the shocking realization. How can this be? This small man is breaking me apart. In that moment of humbling clarity, he awoke. He woke up in his own small hut, his body trembling. He wasn't the sun, or the cloud, or the mountain. He looked at his own hands, calloused and strong from his work. He was a stonecutter. And suddenly, it all made sense. The dream wasn't a curse. It was a lesson. Each powerful form he became had its own weakness, its own master. But the final, most powerful force in his dream, the one that could shape even the mountain, was the stonecutter. It was him. He was already the one he had been searching for. From that day on, the stonecutter worked with a smile. The sun was still hot. The work was still hard, but his heart was light. He had stopped comparing and started appreciating. He realized that true happiness isn't about becoming someone else. It's about recognizing the power and value you already have. So, the next time you find yourself wishing for someone else's life, remember the stonecutter. Your journey, your strengths are uniquely yours. Embrace them, because you are already enough. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and consider subscribing for more content that inspires. See you next time.